A warm welcome to all the students in this lecture number 13. Today we are going to discuss some of the essential properties of all the informed and uninformed search techniques that we have seen so far. We are going to evaluate this algorithm with respect to those properties. Admissibility. An algorithm is called as admissible if it is guaranteed to return an optimal solution when one exists. Optimality. An algorithm is called as optimal if it generates solution in minimum possible steps. And when I say minimum possible steps, it is also called as the shallowest or the best or the optimal solution. Third property, completeness. An algorithm is complete if it always terminates with a solution when one exists. Now that solution may not be the optimal solution. Only if the algorithm terminates with one particular solution, may not be optimal solution, then the algorithm is called as complete. And the fourth property is complexity, where we are going to talk about the time and space complexities of these algorithms. Now we are going to evaluate all these algorithms that we have seen so far with respect to these properties. So analysis of algorithms that we have seen so far. We had started with breadth first search, which was the first blind search algorithm. With respect to completeness, we can say that this algorithm is complete. It is complete because if for a problem there exists a solution, BFS always guarantees to find it, right? Then the algorithm is also optimal because it also ensures that if at all there is a solution, it gives you the solution, and that also the shortest path solution or the shallowest solution or the optimal solution. So breadth first search is always going to give you the optimal solution, right? Breadth first search is also admissible because it guarantees to return an optimal solution. So with respect to the first three properties, breadth first search is complete as well as optimal as well as admissible. Now let us see the fourth property, and that is complexity. Now with respect to breadth first search, the complexity is, specifically the time complexity is O b raised to d. It's an exponential time complexity. Okay, we are assuming that b is a branching factor and d is the depth of the state space, then the time complexity is exponential. Okay, also remember that in breadth first search, not only the time but the space, okay, the space complexity also will grow exponential. So space complexity is also O b raised to d because every node at a particular level, okay, will be saved in the memory. Okay, the breadth first search principle, it works on one particular thing, that at any point of time, unless and until all the nodes at a particular level are all evaluated, we are not going to go to the next level. As a result, if the span of the tree is very huge, the number of nodes in that particular level will be also huge. We have seen one such example, that is tic-tac-toe problem, wherein as we went down the state space, okay, depth wise, the number of nodes in every level were increasing exponentially. So it not only costs for time complexity but the space complexity, because there is a chance that if the state space is huge, if the span is huge, then there would arise a situation wherein at one particular point all the nodes are not possible to be loaded into the RAM, into the memory, so the memory is out of the space, right? So this particular breadth first search algorithm is costly when you consider the space and time complexity. So what we can say is, this search is not feasible when you have a large state space. The second algorithm that we saw was depth first search. Let's talk about the completeness. This algorithm is not always complete. Okay, why it is not always complete? Because this depth first search algorithm may not give you solution all the time. And when it cannot give you a solution, suppose the algorithm gets lost into blind Delhi situation, you are never going to get the solution. And that's why we can say that depth first search algorithm is not always complete, or it is not complete. It is also not optimal. Okay, because as we go through the selected path and keep on generating the successors and proceed. In the path, we may find a solution, but we cannot guarantee that that's an optimal solution. Your depth first search algorithm, it goes through one particular branch. Suppose a solution is present in that particular branch. Okay, then depth first search algorithm will not switch to any other branch and check whether there is any other alternate solution. It will not do so. Okay, so in this process, the solution that is being found, it may be the lengthier solution. There may exist another better solution, the shorter solution in any other branch, which the algorithm might fail to realize. Okay, that's why the depth first search is also not optimal. And since it is not optimal, it is also not admissible. It does not guarantee to return optimal solution. That's why it is not admissible. Now let us judge this algorithm based on the complexities. First we have the time complexity. Now in the worst case, depth first search visits all the nodes before getting a solution, and hence the time complexity is also exponential, O b raised to d, assuming that the b is the branching factor and d is the depth. Okay, so in worst case, what depth first search will do is it will visit one particular branch, finding out that it is not fruitful, it will switch to another branch, again finding out it is not fruitful, it may, so suppose there are n branches, okay, it will go through n minus 1 branches and then finally enter the nth branch, and maybe the solution is found in that particular branch. So in this process, in worst case, it has already visited all the nodes before getting the solution, and as a result the time complexity to get such solution is exponential, O b raised to d. Talking about the space complexity, the space complexity is not exponential, it is OBD, because at any time we have to only keep the path from the root to the current node, that is in consideration, into the memory. That's why the complexity is not exponential. So we can say that this search algorithm is not feasible when you have a big tree depth. If the depth of the tree is large or huge, this algorithm it may get lost into the into the blind alley, or it may time complexity, the time required to get the answer can be huge. Okay, so when there is a tree with a big depth, we don't prefer this kind of search algorithm. Now the third algorithm that we saw was iterative depending depth first search, which was a combination of good things from BFS, good things from DFS. So let us analyze this algorithm with respect to the first thing, completeness. Of course this algorithm is complete because this algorithm always terminates with a solution if at all one exists within the max depth. Please remember that in this algorithm we define something called as max depth beforehand. What is max depth? There are situations wherein in some situations where the depth of the tree can just go on increasing and increasing endlessly, and you may never get an answer. So without in place of wasting time, what we do is we specify something called as max depth. So if we happen to get an answer up till that max depth, the answer is accepted, and till that max depth, suppose there is no answer that is got, then we say that we have to stop the search. Okay, there is no answer, and that's why this algorithm is said to be complete provided the answer is present in within the bounds of max depth. Okay, second is this algorithm is also optimal. Okay, now being based on breadth first search principle, it always guarantees a shallowest or optimal solution, and that's why iterative deepening search algorithm is also optimal. Since it is optimal, since it guarantees to return optimal solution most of the times or every time, this algorithm is also admissible. So when you consider iterative deepening depth first search, for first three properties it is complete, optimal as well as admissible. Okay, now let us judge it with respect to the time complexity and space complexity. Now the time complexity in this algorithm is O b raised to d, which is an exponential factor. Okay, since in every iteration the regenerated tree has to be searched in DFS manner repeatedly, that is again and again, and that's why in the worst case the time complexity becomes O b raised to d, that's a exponential complexity. Talking about the space complexity is not exponential, it is OBD, because individually when we, for every iteration when we load a particular tree, what we do is okay, the tree is loaded into the RAM, and we are doing the depth first search, and we remember depth first search requires less space compared to breadth first search. In the next iteration, when depth level increases by 1, all the previous nodes in the previous iteration, they are all removed. That means the memory is flushed and new nodes are loaded into the RAM of the regenerated tree, and again DFS procedure is executed on that regenerated tree. So this ensures that the memory never goes out of the space. Less number of nodes are there in the memory at any point of time compared to breadth first search, and as a result the space complexity here is OBD, not the exponential complexity. Okay, so when the search space is large and there is unavailability of the depth factor, we don't know what's the depth factor is unknown, this is the right time to use IDS or iterative deepening depth first search. Hill climbing algorithm, it is not always complete. The meaning of completeness is what? Completeness means the algorithm should end by giving you a solution. In case of hill climbing algorithm, you may talk about the basic hill climbing algorithm, or you may talk about the steepest ascent hill climbing algorithm. In hill climbing algorithm, the node which is a global maxima node or global minima node, that is the only node which is called as a solution or the goal node. This is a node, okay, or this is a node that is a optimal solution node. Now, most of the time what happens is hill climbing algorithm gets stuck at some other node which is not a solution node, which is actually a local maxima or local minima, and the algorithm tries to call it as a goal solution, failing to realize that the actual solution is somewhere else. So although students might say that hill climbing algorithm is always complete, because always it is going to return some answer, if not global maxima, at least local maxima. But remember, local maxima or local minima, local maxima or local minima nodes, they are not the solution nodes. So that's why I say that hill climbing algorithm is not always complete, or it is not complete, because in both cases, whether it is basic or the steepest ascent hill climbing, okay, the algorithm may not reach the goal state and hence fail to find the solution. Most of the times algorithm gets stuck at local maxima or local minima, which is not a goal node. Goal node is always the global maxima or global minima node. Also, when you talk about optimality, hill climbing is also not optimal. Why? Because if the algorithm gets stuck at the local maxima, okay, again see, local maxima node is not the optimal node. So this may hamper the optimality of the algorithm, right? And since the algorithm is not optimal, it is also not admissible, because it does not guarantee to return optimal solution most of the times. Now, with respect to the complexity, hill climbing is neither complete nor optimal and has the time complexity of O infinity. This is the worst possible time complexity that we have encountered so far. Remember what happens? Hill climbing algorithm, when it gets stuck at the local maxima or local minima, there is no way it can come out of this local maxima and local minima, and it stays there forever. And that's why the time complexity in getting to the solution node, which is global maxima, will be infinite. Remember, in hill climbing algorithm, there is no way backtracking is possible, and we said an improvement can be done on the hill climbing algorithm where backtracking can be incorporated. But we are talking right now about the algorithm which is a basic algorithm which does not have backtracking. Another solution we said is simulated annealing, but right now in this discussion we are talking about the hill climbing algorithm which does not have these extra things. So what happens is, most of the time the hill climbing algorithm will get stuck at local maxima and will stuck there forever. It will not be able to move on from there and reach any time to the global maxima, which is a goal node. As a result, the time complexity in obtaining the goal node, obtaining the global maxima, is always O infinity. Space complexity is less, OBD, because if B is the branching factor, OB, if B is the branching factor, the complexity is OB, because we know it's a localized search and it will see only one branch and it will stop when we reach the leaf node, assuming that leaf node is the goal node. hill climbing algorithm assumes that it's a goal, but it is actually not a goal. It is local maximum or local minimum. Best first search, which is a global search technique. Now, with respect to completeness, it is not always complete. The algorithm is fully heuristic driven. Please note, heuristic that works reasonably will lead to a reasonable solution. Okay. Now, in best first search, if the heuristic values are overestimated, okay, then it may not give you solution. It may drift you away from the solution. That's why the best first search is not complete. It may give you solution, but it is not the optimal solution, or it may not give you solution at all at some places. So that's why, since best first search may not give you the solution, we can say that it is not always complete. It is all heuristic dependent. Again, best first search is not optimal. Sometimes the search can also lead to dead ends. Again, best first search is not admissible because it does not guarantee to return optimal solution at all the times. With respect to complexity, the time complexity is O b raised to m, where b is the branching factor, m is the depth. Again, space complexity is also O b raised to m, both exponential. Now, since why space complexity is exponential in this case? Since we require maintaining a queue for successors that are not generated. Remember, for heuristic based algorithms, the completeness, optimality and admissibility, it purely depends on consistency of heuristics used. What is admissible heuristic then? Any search algorithm is admissible, or it is called as admissible, if it always produces optimal solution. This requires cost of visiting a node also to be optimal. For any node n, h dash of n, okay, is a heuristic, is nothing but it's a cost of optimal path from n to the goal node. Right, h dash of n is the cost of optimal path from the that particular node n to the goal node. Thus, any heuristic value that you are choosing, h of n, is admissible if for all nodes of n this relation is true, where h star of n is the actual cost incurred, okay, to attain goal from n. So this is the actual cost that is incurred from moving from the current state to the goal state. This is the heuristic value that you have chosen. This is the estimate, not the actual one. This is the estimate to move from the current state to the goal state. So this relationship tells you that the heuristics are called as admissible if the heuristic value that you are choosing is either less than or equal to the actual cost that is incurred in moving from the current node to the goal node. So you should always remember, heuristic values you can underestimate, but overestimating heuristic value can actually affect your algorithm. We are going to see this later on. Now, if a wrong heuristic is provided, we may never obtain a solution. If heuristic is perfect estimation of a problem, it will provide solution in least number of steps. That means if the heuristic is perfect, then it is going to give you almost the optimal solution. Now, if heuristic function overestimates or underestimates the ideal value of h dash, then it may take a longer time to find a solution. Okay. Next, we are going to see two examples which will demonstrate what happens when the h dash value is overestimated and what happens when h dash value is overestimated. At the end of these two examples, you will realize, that if the values are overestimated, this will affect giving you the optimal solution. Consider the state space which you are going to see now. In this state space, we assume that every arc has a fixed cost of 1. That means the cost incurred in moving from any node to any other node in the entire arc, in the entire graph, okay, is 1. Unit cost along each and every edge. Second, we are assuming that this A star algorithm problem is a minimization problem. Let's now begin with an example. Suppose the start node is A, and A has three successors, namely B, whose heuristic value is 3, and the G value, that's the actual cost incurred in moving from initial state to the current state, is 1. So 3 plus 1. F value of B will be 4. F dash of B will be 4. Then A has another successor, that is C, whose heuristic value is 4, and the cost incurred in moving from A to C, that is G of C, will be 1. So the F dash of C will be 4 plus 1, that is 5. A has another successor, that is D, whose heuristic value is 5, and the G value, G dash value will be 1. So F dash of D will be 5 plus 1, 6. Right? Now, since B has the least, that's the best value, so it is obvious that B will be expanded next. Now, further, when B is expanded next, B has another successor, that is E, whose heuristic value is 3, and G value that is calculated will be 1 plus 1, that is 2. So the F dash of E happens to be 5. At this point, if you consider other eligible candidates across the span, you realize that node C also has a F dash value equal to 5. So E and D both have F dash value equal to 5, right? So actually the A star algorithm can select either C or E, okay? But also considering that, to simply switch the branch from this branch switching to another branch, there will be overhead, okay? So at this point we assume, okay, that we resolve this problem in the favor of the path that we are currently following. Let's say the A star algorithm selects E over C, and suppose it continues. Then further assume that E has a successor F, again whose heuristic value is 3, and which is actually 3 units away from the initial state, 1, 2, 3. So the F dash value of F happens to be 6. Okay. Now after seeing the state space which is explored so far, we can clearly see that we are simply using up moves and making no progress. At this point specifically, we realize that F dash of F happens to be 6, and this is greater than F dash of C, that is 5. So then ultimately we are going to, as a next step, what the A star algorithm is going to do is, A star algorithm is going to switch the branch, and next it will choose C for the further expansion, right? Thus we see that by underestimating the value of B, we have wasted some effort, but eventually we discover that B was farther away than we thought, and that's why we go back to C. So in this example, as you can see, the value of B, the heuristic value of B, okay, H dash of B was 3. It was actually underestimated. The value of this B, the heuristic value of this B, should have been much more than 3, maybe 5 or something like that, okay? Because looking at the expansion that happened till F, we are actually making no progress, okay? See, from A we went to B, we were 3 units away from the goal. Then from B we went to E, still we were 3 units away from the goal. And from E now we have reached F, still we are 3 units away from the goal. So there is no real progress that is being made. We are only going away from the initial state, but again we are not reaching the final state. We are not making a progress, because in all 3 nodes, the distance that is remaining to be covered up, approximate distance from the current state to the goal state, it remains 3 itself, right? So instead, if this particular path was selected initially only, then instead of wasting so much effort to reach F and then realize this value is greater than this value, you could have started from this node itself. Now what is that one thing that is hampering our choice? Why did we select this particular branch? Because the F value of B, when we evaluated, it came to 4. And since B was having the minimum F dash value, then the other two other two siblings, okay, we were compelled to go through this path, and this all happened because the heuristic value over here, okay, it is actually underestimated value. Okay, the actual value over here should have been more, say 5, so that here 5 plus 1 would have been 6, and then instead of selecting this B, we would have selected C, which is much lesser than 6. This is 5. So this is an example of underestimation. So when the values are underestimated, we waste efforts in traversal. Now consider that the start state happens to be A, and A has 3 successors, namely B, whose heuristic value is 3. So f dash of B is 3 plus 1, that is 4. Another successor C, whose heuristic value is 4. So f dash of C happens to be 4 plus 1, 5. And the third successor D, whose heuristic value is 5. So f dash of D happens to be 5 plus 1, 6. Now among all these 3 nodes, the minimum node will be B, because the f dash value of B is minimum, that is 4. So B will be selected for the further expansion. Further, assume that when B is further expanded, there is only one successor, that is E, and the heuristic value of E happens to be 2. Okay, and the actual cost that is incurred in moving to E from the start state is 1 plus 1, that is 2. So 2 plus 2, 4 will be the f dash value of E. Now at this point, when you compare 4 with the f dash value of C, that is 5, and f dash value of D, that is 6, we still feel that E is the minimum, so E will be selected for the further expansion. So this way, when E is expanded further, okay, then E has a child node, that is F, whose heuristic value is 1, okay, and G value will be 3, because the actual path, the cost incurred in moving from the initial state to that current state would be 1 plus 1 plus 1, total 3. So f dash value of F will be 4. Further, when you compare 4 with f dash value of F, f dash value of C, f dash value of D, F is still the minimum. Okay, so F will be expanded further, and assume that F has a successor, that is G, whose heuristic value is 0, which tells you that G is a goal node. Okay, now that means you have reached the solution. You have reached the solution. But now we have to see what is the path. Is it the optimal solution? Is it the shallowest solution? Is it the minimum path cost solution? What is the path cost to reach from initial state to the final state? Okay, what is the cost incurred? The path cost, that is 4. That means 1, 2, 3 and 4. That's a path cost. So we have no doubt reached the goal node from the initial state using A star. Okay, but you have reached the goal node in 4 number of steps, right? But suppose, okay, now just assume, but suppose if there was a direct path from this node D, okay, if there was a direct path from this node D to G, okay, then the cost, the path cost here, okay, to reach the goal node from the initial state, the path cost here would have been 2, right? 1 plus 1, right? I have written question mark over here because this is a questionable heuristic value that is being given to us. So it means that the value of heuristic function value of D that is given over here, which is 5, this is actually an overestimated value. If this value was lower than 5, suppose this was something like 2, then you would have surely come from A to D, and if there was a path from D to G, you would have got the solution in minimum number of steps, optimal solution. But you are not getting the optimal solution here because node D, okay, its heuristic value that is given to us is a overestimated value, a very high value than what it should actually be. Because, okay, if you expand D further, only then you realize that there is a direct path from D going to G. Okay, that means this is a path to the goal node. But to realize this dotted path, the path that is supposed to be present once D is expanded, this path, okay, this path we will never find. We will never be able to find, since h dash of D is overestimated. Since h dash of D is overestimated, we will never be able to find that there is a further path that links D with G. Okay, so why? That means this value 5, which is over here, it has to be much lower than 5. So because the value of heuristic here has been overestimated, okay, we have no doubt we have got the solution, but have we got the minimum cost solution? Have we got the optimal solution? No. Okay, because the solution that we get from here, the path cost is 4. Whereas if the value, the heuristic value of this D was lowered, then you would have realized that from D also there is a direct path that goes to G, and with that the goal, the solution that we would have got, its path cost would be just 2 and not 4. Okay, so this is an example of what can happen, how A star algorithm can be affected if the value is overestimated. In general, when h dash is overestimated, we cannot guarantee to find the solution of the cheapest path unless we expand the entire graph until all the paths are longer than the best solution. Now, if this overestimation does not occur, is A star algorithm admissible? Can we say that A star algorithm is admissible if this overestimation does not occur? We actually cannot guarantee whether h dash will overestimate or underestimate A star. Then the only way is to set this h dash to 0. That means don't consider h factor. Then if you don't consider h factor, then you will be only considering g factor, right? The actual cost incurred. Okay, so this will lead to BFS algorithm, and BFS is best first search, and we know that best first search is not complete as well as optimal, right? So in A star, h of n is admissible if every node, okay, if for every node the heuristic cost, that is h of n, is always less than or equal to the actual cost required to reach the goal node n. That is, we can say h of n, that is the heuristic value which you are choosing for a node, it should be either less than or equal to the actual cost pertaining to the goodness of that node. It should not be overestimated. It can be underestimated or it can be equal to the actual cost. Okay, so what is h star of n? H star of n is the actual cost to reach the goal state. Heuristic that never overestimates the cost is admissible heuristic. So let us talk about optimality of A star now. A star is optimally efficient for any heuristic. There exists no other algorithm or approach which uses the same heuristic and can generate a fewer or lesser number of nodes than the ones generated by A star. Time and space complexity of A star. The time complexity is log h star n. The space complexity, okay, now here, since all the nodes generated are kept in the memory, A star, it runs almost out of the space. Okay, we can say A star is complete and optimal if the heuristic is admissible. Okay, this is a statement. For semester exam, usually they give this statement. They ask you A star is complete and optimal if the heuristic is admissible. Justify. A star is not recommended for large scale problems. Okay, because you know that the space complexity is a major problem with A star, because all the nodes which are generated, they have to be kept in the memory, because we are doing the search globally throughout the entire span. So if the problem is a large scale problem, then definitely the algorithm is going to fail because it is going to run out of the space. That's the only problem with A star. And secondly, the heuristic that we are choosing for A star, it should be admissible. That means the value of the heuristic can be underestimated but it should not be overestimated. Heuristic should not be overestimated. So with this, we end for today's lecture. In the next lecture, we are going to see another algorithm which is called as problem reduction algorithm. Specifically, we are going to study a special algorithm called as AO star algorithm. Thank you.